So, when you think of Obito Uchiha, what's the first thing that comes to mind usually? Most people will probably call him a simp or say that he had no real reason for turning evil, but there's honestly a lot more to his character than that. He was just as important of a character as Naruto was, and he's the main character. In this video, I will be going over Obito Uchiha and what made him a well-written character. Okay, so before we can go into what made Obito a great character, we have to talk about his childhood and what led him to becoming such a prominent figure within the shinobi world. Obito Uchiha grew up during the Third Great Ninja War and was on Team 7 alongside Kakashi and Rin. Obito and Kakashi did not really get along well due to Kakashi being a prodigy and always wanting to follow the ninja rules, whereas Obito was kind of a slacker who was always late. He also had a crush on Rin, but the problem was Rin always liked Kakashi, and so that was just another reason as to why they didn't really get along, is because Obito was always jealous of him as well. And so yeah, it just kind of created this like weird dynamic between the three, right? Every chance he got, Obito always tried to impress Rin, but it would never work because Rin would always have her eyes on Kakashi. They didn't really get an understanding for each other until Obito asked Minato, who Minato was their Jonin leader, right? So he asked Minato why Kakashi was always like so uptight about everything. He pretty much asked him why Kakashi was always so mean to him. And Minato had to explain to Obito that Kakashi's father, Sakumo Hatake, he actually committed suicide because he was pretty much ostracized from the village. And the reason he was shamed is because while on a mission, he chose to save the life of his comrade instead of completing the mission at hand. And one thing you have to remember is that saving a comrade is not the number one priority in these missions. Usually, they want you to complete the mission at hand no matter what happens. So, like, even if your friend is dying right in front of you, they would want you to complete the mission rather than saving your friend. And that's what Kakashi's dad did. He saved his friend instead of completing the mission. And so when he returned to the village, he was pretty much shamed. And after a while, he couldn't take the shame and he took his own life. And so after this, we see that Obito has a bit of understanding for Kakashi. He kind of sees where he's coming from, and he's he's like more open to taking orders from Kakashi now because he knows why Kakashi is the way he is, right? So, and we see this later on. He actually takes orders from Kakashi without giving him any shit, right? And so this just shows that Obito is willing to learn and he's willing to grow. Alright, so I know what you might be thinking, bro. I am not trying to hear all this shit right now. I'm trying to get to the good part. Let's get to the boulder section, alright? And I hear you. Let's let's get to the boulder section. Okay, so Team 7 is tasked with destroying Kanabi Bridge. Now, the reason they have to destroy Kanabi Bridge is because this is the bridge that the enemies are using to pretty much supply themselves. And so, if they destroy Kanabi Bridge, it pretty much makes it easier for Konoha to win the war, right? There's only one eensy teensy tiny problem. Minato is not able to join them because Minato is called off to another area of the war, and so he leaves Team 7 to go destroy Kanabi Bridge by themselves. And that is exactly what they set off to do. Kakashi, Rin, and Obito, they go to the desired location to where they were told to go. And when they get there, they're ambushed. And during the ambush, Rin is captured, and this pretty much creates a conflict between Obito and Kakashi. The reason this creates a conflict between the two is because, like I said earlier, Kakashi is that type of ninja where he wants to complete the mission at hand no matter what. So even though Rin got captured, he was willing to continue with their mission and go capture Rin later. Whereas Obito wanted to go get Rin at that moment, but Kakashi was being difficult and he pretty much told Obito, like, no, we can't go, it's my choice, I'm the leader. And that's when Obito pretty much told Kakashi, like, people who follow the rules are good, but those who abandon their friends are just trash. He then sets off to go capture Rin, knowing that he probably has no chance of rescuing her, but he's gonna try anyway. And his words resonated with Kakashi so much that Kakashi then shows up out of nowhere when Obito is trying to save Rin, and he saves Obito as well. And then they both try to save Rin at that moment, showing that, Kakashi also had a bit of character growth as well. During their fight, Kakashi is cut by one of the ninja they were fighting, and he loses one of his eyes. Now, this heavily affects both him and Obito because Kakashi was, like I said, the most talented member of Team 7 at that time. So to lose their most talented member was horrible, right? And this made Obito feel useless because he felt like there was nothing he could do, right? He felt like, oh, well, I'm just a burden. There's nothing I can really do here to help my friends. And that's all he really wanted to do at the end of the day was just protect his comrades. And so this gives Obito the motivation to unlock his Sharingan. This was a really big moment in his life because before this, he had always wanted to unlock his Sharingan, and that's actually like the main reason he wore the goggles we see him wear as a kid is because he wanted to protect his eyes so that when he did get his Sharingan, they were fine to use, right? And so, yeah, like I said, this is just a really big moment in Obito's life, and this is, I guess you could say, the start of the downfall, right? So after this, we see that both Obito and Kakashi, they go to confront the ninja who captured Rin, and when they get there, they find Rin in a cave, and she's pretty much trying to not be put under genjutsu because the ninja who captured her, they're trying to place her under a genjutsu so that they can pretty much get any intel that they need, right? And so once Obito and Kakashi see this, they spring into action, and then a battle ensues between them and the ninja who captured Rin. And so eventually, Kakashi and Obito win this fight, and after they're finished rescuing Rin, one of one of the remaining ninja who was on the opposing side, he sees them trying to leave the cave, and so he pretty much uses a jutsu that causes this massive earthquake, and pretty much the cave just starts to collapse. Right as they're about to leave the cave, a giant boulder is about to fall on Kakashi, and Obito sees this boulder, and he pushes Kakashi out of the way so that he could take the full impact of the boulder. This heroic act cost him his entire right side of his body, and he was unable to move from underneath the boulder, and he was pretty much fucked in that situation. There was nothing they could do, and so knowing this, he gives Kakashi his Sharingan as like a present because he wasn't able to give Kakashi a present earlier because shortly before this, Kakashi had just promoted to Jonin, and so everyone got him a gift except Obito, and so Obito saw this as a way to give Kakashi his gift, and that was the last time they saw Obito. Kakashi and Rin, they had to leave the cave the because the boulders kept dropping, and there was nothing they could do to help Obito. And at that moment, they thought that was the end of Obito. And then a while after that, he woke up in a cave, and he had no clue where he was. He thought he was dead, but once he came to his senses, he noticed an old man standing right next to him. Now, I mean, if I woke up in a cave and saw an old man standing right next to me, I'd get the fuck out of there. But in the Naruto universe, it's different. He was just like, oh, well, who are you? And this old guy, he pretty much turned out to be Madara Uchiha. Now, I'll go into Madara in a different video, but just know that Madara is that guy. He is him, right? And this is pretty much the start of their relationship. But anyway, Madara goes on this whole spiel, pretty much giving Obito his philosophy on the world. But honestly, Obito really wasn't interested in what Madara had to say. He was more interested in leaving and going back to Team 7 because at that time he was still, he still wanted to go back to them. And so for like the next few chapters, it was just pretty much Obito trying to get out of the cave and pretty much him talking with Zetsu about Madara's plan. They pretty much also talked about like the early version of Project Suki no Me. Like Zetsu pretty much tells Obito that Madara wants to make a world where there are only winners and no losers. And he says that Madara plans on doing this by creating a genjutsu, and he's gonna put everybody in that genjutsu. Shortly after this, we get a time skip and we see that Obito is a bit older, his hair is a bit longer, and he's a bit taller. And we can see that he is a lot more accustomed to using the other half of his body, which is pretty much fused with Zetsu at this point. And so, yeah, it pretty much just shows that Obito has been in the cave with Madara for a while now, right? And yeah, after this, we pretty much get a scene where Zetsu comes in the cave and tells Obito that Rin and Kakashi are in trouble and that he has to go save them quickly. Zetsu offers to encase Obito's body completely to act as like a handicap in the fight because at this time Obito was sort of weakened because he was still feeling the effects of, a literal giant boulder falling on him that would do things to people. So Zetsu, being so generous out of the kindness of his heart, offered to help Obito in this fight. And so that's exactly what he does. He covers himself over Obito, and then they head out, and then, yeah, we're gonna get into that, but shit happens, right? When Zetsu and Obito leave the cave, that's when Obito asks Zetsu where Minato is. Because Obito found it weird that Minato was not there at that time, and Kakashi and Rin are injured, right? And so he asks Zetsu where Minato was, and Zetsu tells Obito that Minato was on another mission at that time, and so that had Obito worried, right? And when they got there, that's when Obito sees that Kakashi readied his Chidori and he plunged his hand right into Rin's chest, killing her at that moment. And this is where Obito flips his shit, and this is also where both Kakashi and Obito unlock their Mangekyo Sharingan due to this incident, right? Losing their friend. And when I say that he flips his shit, I mean like he goes batshit crazy. Like he kills everybody on the battlefield except Kakashi. Like it's so bad that I don't even think I could show some of the scenes from it. Like all I'll say is this is what the aftermath of the battlefield looked like after he was done with everybody. And so after this, he goes to Rin's dead body and he mourns the loss of his friend. And one thing you have to remember is that Rin was like everything to Obito. Like, I'll put it like this. When when the boulder crushed Obito, one of Obito's last wishes to Kakashi was to protect Rin. So like dude, like even in his dying breath, all he ever wanted to do was protect Rin. And so now that Rin is gone, he pretty much lost his only motivation for the world. And we see this because he then goes to Madara. He goes back to the cave. He goes back to Madara and he tells Madara that he wants to enact his plan. He's ready to, enact Project Suki no Me. And this is pretty much the start of Obito's, I guess you could say, downfall into villainy, right? So, yeah, this is pretty much the start of him being of him being like a full-on bad guy. And so after this, there's another time skip where we see that Obito has moved on from Madara. It's obvious that Madara at this point is dead, and Obito has fully carried the mantle. And we see that he has found Nagato, and he is ready to pretty much use Nagato, which is what Madara told him to do. But I'll be going into that in the next video. And that is the end of part 1. If you like this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share the video. Also be sure to comment down below why you like or dislike Obito, and let's start a conversation in the comments. And in the next video, I will be going over Obito's life from when he first met Nagato all the way up to the 5 Kage Summit. So please be on the lookout for that video. I will see you guys later.